jug band.
Comedy and tragedy.
There's a whole bunch of people. A whole bunch of people.
Take a look. It's a family. It's a band. It's a whole huge mess.
Okay, and just pop it right on in there.
It's a reinvention of vaudeville and punk.
Have you ever been in quest of something, then discovered something completely different and even more special along the way? Now, just because it's special doesn't mean all your troubles will go away. They might even get worse. I don't believe that serendipity is always benevolent. It's like an old magic trick, voluntary deception with beautiful results. But you don't ever stop believing in it, because it's your creative thunder. Without that spark, you don't grow. That's kind of how this story is for me. It started in a train yard in 1996. I've been riding trains for a few years, most of that time alone. I was about 24. I'd seen a lot of the country. I really wanted to get to California. I wanted to visit San Francisco and see the Golden Gate Bridge. I guess you could say I was looking for my next adventure. I definitely found it when I met Flecher and Miguel.
Fletch was, born and raised in San Francisco. He always seemed like a real wild one.
Making skateboard films and living in the moment,
And whatever it took to get the shot. A combination of stuntman, cameraman.
Miguel and I were hanging out every day, I love Miguel. We're like cosmic brothers, He's a badass artist, He'd be working on a sculpture while you're walking down the street with him.
It was always on the fly with him. This renegade spirit, wild man. Him and Fletch were this duo, They were inseparable because of whatever their bond was creatively and just their outlook on life.
San Francisco was just this Atlantean backdrop. It was just such a magical time before the computer crunch really hit. It was wide open and we were running rampant in the streets, in multicolors.
When I first met them, they were filming everything.
Truth serum.
In their house, filming themselves.
Take one.
Filming the television. We'd pick up odd jobs here and there, and they'd be filming that. You live in San Francisco, and you're in your 20s. You invent, you create, you make. And that's what we were doing.
So then we met this fantastically weird guy, Joe.
Joe was this kind of mad puppeteer.
And he had this cave in his house. I told him I had this cable access show. Within days, we were working on these puppet movies.
He was continuing the lineage of puppetry in any of the holes that might have fallen out along the way.
He's got me puppeteering and Fletch all dressed up.
Action.
Wait, hold on. You're pulling my wig off. Huh? Piggy boy.
And out of these movies emerged this puppet band called Zoopy Funk Theater.
Zoopy Funk got offered, I think, $600 to go up to Oregon and do a couple of shows, and there was a rumor that Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters were going to be there, and I think that was the catalyst. Get out of town, get gas money paid for, and just kind of see what happens.
I was heading out for our first tour, puppet band tour.
A trunk full of instruments, and I don't know, there was just this electricity in the air.
Fletch was the guy smiling and filming, and Z was the guy holding it down, and I was the guy upside down hanging out the side of the car.
Interstate 5, we're hauling ass up trying to get to this gig, and we see this old broke down house. It looked like it had fallen from the sky, just landing on this old field. Like, wow, let's pull off here, and let's make some movies.
The first part, you want to be like, yeah.
This guy pulls up in a beat up pickup truck with a horse painted on the door. Chuck, retired stuntman, and he was all for it. He's like, oh yeah, isn't that building beautiful? Yeah, go film, do whatever you want.
Next thing you know, this jug band was playing on the porch of this house.
Some beaten wooden porch that was just right, that called us to invent.
Should we set up once and add it or something?
Seemed really symbolic to have a stuntman give us the okay to start the rest of our lives.
For us, that was the beginning of the Yard Dogs Jug Band, which would later evolve into the Yard Dogs Road Show. I remember that night we pulled off the road at the first bar we saw, a place called the Klondike. Had an old neon sign. I walked into the bar, I walked right up to the bartender and I said, hey, we have a band and we want to play here tonight.
Okay, what do you guys call yourself?
We're the Yard Dog Jug Band.
You guys are doing good.
Is that the only song you guys know?
Pretty much.
I think that's where I stepped into the role as manager.
Good show. Good show. They're kind of chintzy on the free beer.
That morning, I felt like I was stumbling into a new story. Fletch and Miguel both had this boundless creativity. Together, it was like we could live and tell our story all at the same time. Now we had this jug band. We were fledgling instigators, and we were about to meet up with Ken Kesey. one of the greatest instigators of all time.
I just felt honored that we got a chance to meet him, like make him smile at his own game, you know?
When we were around Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters, it felt like we could be part of the dream, like we could do it too. Leaving Oregon was bittersweet. We parted ways with Joe and Zebu Funk, and that would be the last time we worked together. We continued on to Las Vegas to visit our friend Micah. On the drive, we got into all sorts of talk about what we would do next. We had also conjured a wayward spirit, a rebellious old bogey who would always have one finger on the trigger.
It seemed like we were living our true selves at that moment. So grateful to have that creative spirit and run wild with it.
We can do anything, why not? You know, let's just see what's possible.
I mean, this is what Vegas is to me. This is like the back roads of Vegas. This is the desert. This is the lost culture that's been buried under years and years of casinos and thievery. I had always been in improvisational bands and noise bands, and the Yard Dogs were like that, except they were this whole other slant, you know, coming from the bottom level where it's like playing a bucket. And so I was really interested in this freedom of it, and also unsure about how I fit into the whole thing. The guys that started it didn't really even have a plan or anything. It was just spontaneously erupted and just kept going, you know? Just some random ideas in a 69 Ford Galaxie, driving around and making stuff happen.
I met Miguel on the streets of San Francisco. I would just run into him absolutely everywhere. And he said, "You play trombone? Come join my band." And I just believed him and showed up.
Initially, the three guys, Zebu, Flecher, Miguel, they were like these really enigmatic, crazy, far out, could do no wrong. I really wanted to, just be a part of it because it was so magical.
There was the girl that wanted to run away with the circus. And meeting these guys felt very timely. It was well, there you are. I was preparing for this moment.
Just the law of attraction. They were these people I just felt like I needed to know.
I felt like I met my people, and we just had an instant connection.
It was all happening for this beautiful reason, and we were just so free.
Lily played the trombone, Micah jumped in with his pots and pans, Leighton painted us this beautiful banner, Emily, Phoebe, and Vicky started the black and blue burlesque. We had a new sense of purpose. Together, we were going to bend time. The Yard Dogs Jug Band was now the Yard Dogs Roadshow. pieces. Now it was time to do something with it. Now it was time to really create.
This family cabin was one of the creative grounds in the beginning.
It was just our holy ground, where we would go to kind of let our hair down and commune with each other.
It was really a magical spark kind of happening. Like you could tell that there was the beginning of an era. Me and Micah just met and like we were instantly brothers. And
I'm not rich, but I'm lucky.
The girls, the burlesque troupe was about to be born. It was coming together. We all, had some sort of corset. We had some sort of garter. We had some sort of thigh high. Whether they matched or not wasn't happening in the beginning. It was just kind of like what we had to piece together.
The black and blue burlesque blossom from within our little garden.
That's funny you asked that. Should I?
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Now you take it in your hand. Yes. Pop it around. Just get a little flavor on that. A little toasty flavor. Okay? And just pop it right on in there. Okay? Yeah.
How did it taste? Peppery.
We spent that next year driving up and down the West Coast, making shows wherever we could. We talked our way onto the children's stage at an art fair in Northern California. We took over an old loggers bar in the Redwoods. We set up in the street on Route 66. We even performed at a retirement community in Pahrump, Nevada. And there were more new faces, too. Sidecar Tommy, Shay.
My daddy plays fiddle, and I've been singing my whole life, and dancing, too.
And Tobias the Mystic Man. We would camp and watch old vaudeville movies, and we even went to Burning Man together. In the beginning, it felt like it was more about the experience and less about the show. We were traveling and building this idea together, but I don't think any of us knew exactly what it was going to be yet. We were still very much alive with the newness of it all.
It was like spring for the yard dogs. Everybody was in love. Miguel and Emily.
Phoebe and Leighton.
Fletcher fell in love with Vicky.
Within minutes of meeting, I was like, let me climb up on your shoulders. Let's try this trick. And we just kind of fell into it.
Vicky and Fletcher were dynamic, they were involved in an act called the Kissing Whatnots, and they were in love, Fletcher and I snuck into Burning Man 10 miles in the hot desert sun all night. And on the railroad tracks, he started to tear up a little bit, and he was like, I gotta tell you something. We're having a baby,
The first thing we made was our act. The second thing we made together was the red curtain. And the third thing we made was Lula.
little baby on the road, a little circus tiger.
Fun to have the baby energy, you know, around with us, and to have that like love, family vibration thing. I was always into that, like that's what it would take to keep us together. I mean, really, in the beginning, there was absolutely nothing rehearsed. Nothing.
Passing around bottles of whiskey and red lights and sweat. Bears on chains that didn't exist and people in monkey suits.
I think we had one song, and when that was over, taking a shot of whiskey or hitting a little flask, and then we would strike up our one and only song again, and with a different little twist.
Super chaos inspired, you know? We had no idea really what was happening or who was really in the band or what song we were gonna play next.
Rehearsal was considered, you know, anti to the creative forces. You know, we gotta keep it pure, you know.
How much are we making? Where's the money going?
We do never get paid. That's the truth.
Who's calling the shots? Who's the boss?
Just a couple more minutes. We gotta go. We gotta go. I'm just trying to respect the establishment. Matthew! Do you mind if I play a little bit more? We gotta kick everyone out in about 10 minutes here.
We had no idea what was going on.
Eddy Joe was suggesting that we view some footage, you know, check out some tape.
Then we watched it for Flagstaff show, and we all kind of went like, oh, right. We're like young adults now, and we're looking at our teen years.
We all just laughed at the sloppiness of it, the gorgeous sloppiness of it.
We were in a show. You know, we were like a sloppy spectacle. Our look and our attitudes had kind of surpassed our artistic integrity. There's a lot going on right now, for sure. Real busy times, productive, creative, energetic. Everybody's like fueled with excitement. People working in the basement all the time, people practicing about 6-7 hours a day.
Done with our first practice.
Well, I was already sentimental when she showed up. She was a fresh-faced 20-year-old. She reminded me of me when I joined the band.
I don't think I knew what I wanted out of the Yard Dogs when I first started playing with them. I think I wanted to sing, but I hadn't ever put that into even a full feeling. And Emily came to me and she said, Lily, we want to do a dance. I know it's one of your favorite songs, and would you sing it?
That was the very first burlesque number. We invested in the burlesque boxes, and we talked in length about our costumes and our corsets.
And I was honored and scared. And I went home and cried every night because I didn't see any way that I could ever step into Nina Simone's shoes.
So the Odeon show's coming up in 3 days.
We don't have half the songs together and can't remember things. And you have to just pray that people would be charmed by our sincerity.
This is my kind of joint right here. This is my kind of place. True grit, punk. I'm excited. I can feel the rock juice dripping from these crusty walls. Hey, what's up?
Really, we've been going for like a month straight.
Practicing
Have you been
like
here since?
6 hours a day.
At least 6 hours.
Already met a couple of beautiful people who want to see the dog show.
Earlier today, for sure, I was just an emotional wreck, you know. I'm a little extra hypersensitive, which I already pretty much am, and I had a certain phone call not go so well. The Pope died yesterday. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm thinking of just letting it out in a sub-emotional punk way. 5, 6, 7, 8!
I think when we started practicing is when we realized how much work this is actually going to be if we wanted to do this.
Well, I don't know what she said, but I know what I heard. I want a little something like
What's up on my lines? Say what? That's when we started working through a lot of our issues together too.
I think we should try to keep this as short as possible.
Slightly mental, emotional. I like ego festivals.
You'd have to wait your fucking turn, so like you'd be working on one song and your song's coming up next. You're like, I don't have anything to do, I'm just waiting here, and then that song goes on for the entire rehearsal, and why the fuck did I come? Just to show face?
There was no structure, and people were kind of like creating that structure.
Where's he going? You guys, we gotta figure this out.
Zebu was acting as manager from necessity. Like, we needed a manager. None of us wanted to be controlled at all, and Zebu was felt like he was very controlling.
So we do the second set non-stop?
I guess we're taking 10.
10 minutes.
To Zebu's benefit, Zebu was trying to do the impossible. Direct and focus a group of people that didn't know how to focus.
The forming of the Black and Blue Burlesque was a way for us to have our own identity outside of the partners, because we were all in relationship with members of the Yard Dogs at that time.
The Black and Blue began as a fight, I would say, as a struggle of the women struggling for their own power, and in the group and away from the group.
For me, burlesque dancing is a way to creatively express all of that tension that you get. Just this release of beauty.
Well, we're supposed to be here at 2, and it's 3.
Miguel called me while I was in my car going, well, I'm running a little late, so I don't know, what can we do about that?
It's too much. I got too much going on in my life.
It's not even about the money, it's just about showing up on time, Miguel.
I know, I did. I'll come early next time.
Just take it like a man, man.
All right.
Just trying to figure out what'll get us here on time to be able to practice on time, but obviously this is going to be a problem.
You know, it's such a loose. After all this time, no one still has the direct pin on what that is. So, who is anyone to hold you to it? Unless they're trying to lay down the law, what is a law but to try to ultimately control somebody?
Well, Miguel has a disadvantage because his timeline is like none of the rest of ours too. Just
What do you
stating.
mean by that?
I just mean that there's some people that are
They're
always,
allowed to
His life
do
is
whatever they
more
want.
important.
I'm not in this band to like worry about what somebody else thinks about their timeline.
I heard that Keith Richards said, look, you wanted Keith Richards. When, here I am when I get there. If you wanted someone else that's going to show up on your certain time, hire him. You wanted me for this role? Here I am.
Oh, I'm so excited the Yard Dogs are playing tonight.
I would be surprised if they sold out.
The year before in San Francisco, we had been at a much smaller venue. So coming to the Great American Music Hall and finding out just before the show that it had sold out was a moment for us. It was a new plateau.
That's what I was told to do.
Sold out the Great American Music Hall. And there's tons of people waiting in the street, and they are desperate to get in.
It's crazy.
It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Does everybody have a set list within sight up there? If they don't, there's more.
There's one on.
Everyone has their costumes ready for their acts.
I've got flowers.
But we don't have extra.
No, the girls got their period.
Let's do this.
Today. Yeah, let's Santa, Shay, Phoebe, ladies.
You can do the lyrics. Well, how many of them are we going to do? We have to decide how many verses.
What if we just two and then a song?
I'm going to do 2 on this. I'll take a deep breath. So I'll take a deep breath.
See, I used to be somebody. One round, maybe 2. But when that sky breaks open and the sun it shines on my face. Cause we know this way that we're living, this way that we're loving, we know that it has got to be the way.
so thrilling for me because it was like watching a dream come alive, like something that you've seen played over and over and over again in your head, suddenly manifesting in front of you, and it was just the best feeling ever.
It was the end of the show, and the crowd was just going nuts. Confetti's drifting down, and it sort of slows down time, and I took a moment to just kind of stop, take in all the senses of it, and knew I was part of something very special.
I think that the Yard Dogs have influenced San Francisco subculture, this sort of Barbary Coast frontierism and vaudevillian mixed with tribal and the style that is the Yard Dogs.
That's pretty hard to deny that, that look ended up being replicated not only by, I think, Yard Dogs fans, but by fans of other scenes. Created almost like a circus tent for all the different freaks and marching bands and side projects.
I see that design aesthetic happening across all aspects of pop culture, from Burning Man to ultra high fashion, the things that you see on the most sophisticated runway shows. I made a video called Love Me Unique. If you look at it, it looks like a scene out of the Yard Dogs movie.
We just made our biggest purchase yet.
She is. We've been checking it out. Today we're gonna give the rest of the money and pick it up and get out of here. Kind of special times for us as the band.
We're moving along. It's like we're just kind of feeling our way through the dark, Hopefully we're making the right decisions.
Kind of the awakening of taking care of ourselves and being on the road.
Is it all there?
It's all there. It's your bus. It's your baby.
Ice cream.
I know. We can have communal preparation for morning coffee.
There's gonna have to be laser electroshock collars, so that if only you can reach into your thing. If it's not your code.
We're all about to go on a coast-to-coast tour, our first coast-to-coast tour.
The first long tour that we're actually playing shows night after night after night after night after night after night after night. No sleep till Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying?
So we had this huge tour coming up, and we had to make some tough decisions,
We couldn't have known how difficult of a decision it was going to be, how to have the lady and the kid and the show all in one place.
We're working in saloons and juke joints till 4 in.the.morning almost every night.
And setting up and performing and breaking down and pulling out that night and performing at another town the next day. And ultimately, they needed to be separated.
This is one of the things of being a woman and being a performer that you struggle with.
Eventually, the decision was that it was best that I leave the show. When the bus pulled away, that was a really emotional part for me.
that's what led us into kind of the next era of the project, into this kind of purgatory between, are we a family or are we a show? Are we this mad experiment or are we professionals?
Which house is it?
It's on the right. Her name is,
We got a tip at the health food store that this would be a good place to come borrow chicken. That's pretty loud, huh?
No.
Is she a showbird? Oh yeah. Where are we at? We're in Denver, Colorado, my hometown. Wow! Well, I grew up here mostly, and there's a lot of people out there I haven't seen for 4, 5, 10 years. I turned into an artist, and I worked too hard. Now I got skinny, so no one recognizes me anymore.
It seemed like Leighton was going to be the star of the show. Except no one ever voted him to be the star of the show, and, you know, everyone wanted to be kind of the star of the show a little bit.
Leighton began to kind of crawl his way up to the microphone, and for a little bit there, he wasn't even using the English language. But after a while, these characters emerged from him.
What's this? A crowd? Yes.
Leighton's characters and what he embodied and did on stage were exactly what I dreamt that I would walk into in a vaudeville show.
Well, step right up, don't be afraid. You know first you'll be delayed. What's that you say? What will you see? First let me ask these questions three. You believe in fairy tales, lizard kings and dragon scales. 3 questions more I'll ask of you. A 200 fish, strange but true.
He had this wall of mustaches, you know, and each mustache had its own character.
And his characters were huge and limitless.
I definitely think that the show part of it all kind of went to the next level at that point.
Leighton started emceeing, and I felt like that was kind of what Zebu wanted to do. Like, he saw himself as the ringmaster, kind of the center of this show. He was going to present this show. It was going to be a certain way.
Can you all hear me out there?
You know, pretty soon I realized that it wasn't as open and creatively free as I had thought it was.
My name is, I got my own peanut gallery.
But it was a really tight stranglehold I felt. The deeper you got into it, there's this one way, there's one vision. And any other vision is not really accepted.
You know I still love you,
As the show was getting better, it really seemed like all the relationships were almost getting worse.
Meanwhile, the whole time there's no communication with me whatsoever, other than an occasional little email, but like nobody, like it's just been, I don't know if I've been distancing myself or it's because I don't have a cell phone and stuff, but you know, it's like my friends are becoming less and less of my friends, and other friends are my friends. You know, it's like
Miguel has a super strong character, you know. You gotta kind of know that about him.
who is some other professional to, I don't know, you know, like you're gonna professional all the oomph right out of this thing.
I mean, we went from running the streets of San Francisco, just adventure gathering, to, you know, now we've created this schedule and we're working super hard every day. I know that that's hard for him. He tells me that it's hard for him. But I see him inspire all of us every day, you know, that's his magic. You can't put a man like that in a box. It started as an experiment, so I think a lot of people wanted it to stay that way. But it was also changing, you know, it was becoming a real show. And I think a lot of people didn't really know what to do with it at that point.
You can't be bohemian and working to the man's clock, and literally, people are like, well, maybe we're tired of being bohemian. It's like, okay.
Up till now, we've never missed a show, no. But that's just, you always leave enough time, hopefully, and little buffers of time in case something goes wrong.
It's like Christmas. The Yard Dogs come once a year.
There it is.
Yay! And we're very happy that they still come to this little bowling alley in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Literally for weeks and weeks, customers, the staff, until they come, everybody pulls together to make the place look prettier, to accommodate the magic that the Yard Dogs bring.
I'd make strikes.
Miguel's a champion of love. I've seen him walk up to the most beautiful old ladies and make them feel young and gorgeous, even if they're insecure and scared. Miguel's a champion of love. He loves the ladies. It's not like he's a sex fiend or anything. He's more of a sensualist.
Because in his mind, there is no, like, time doesn't matter as much, you know? That's a thing he hates. It's like time. He's always on time. That's what he says.
Miguel jumped out of the bus. When everybody told him not to, he jumped out anyway. There's 15 people trying to get out of town. We have a long way to drive. Jump out of the bus is selfish.
Here he is.
I need those later.
If you're really getting between here and Tempe, we'll talk about it.
Huh?
It's a fact that you're always late.
It's a fact, you fucking fool. Shut the fuck up. Let me drink my fucking stupid chai.
It's called verbal assault.
Oh, you're just such a bossy little guy.
I'm a bossy little guy.
Yeah, and you like it.
There's no such thing as time. Time is an illusion.
Bark at him for the time schedule that doesn't apply.
We're not keeping a schedule. Your schedule is your schedule.
Don't ever talk to him until it's time to say you're late, and then
You really have to know where you stand and just know that what you're saying and the goals that you're setting are for the entire group. And that's it. Part of that is being places on time.
Oh, timing is of the essence when you're living in the super now. Your dress seems to be caught in the spokes of the back wheel of your bicycle goes spinning round. This honeymoon is winding down. Let's stretch it out and milk it for all that it's worth. The love cataclysm is coming. Let's get it on. Oh, the tone of life seems like a breeze when you're traveling with freaks like these. Our quest seems to be pressed chest to chest with the rest of you very special guests. Comes the turnaround. Viva amor, revoluciones is upon us. Let's get it on. It's already going on in the Corazon de Milione. Oh, let's get it on. On and on. On and on.
last night, after doing the show and everyone's loaded up, one little puff of herb, I was laying here feeling everyone's accomplishment and feeling what a good thing it is that we roll into town and everyone's excited about it, and then they get all fired up and then they root us on when we hit the road. I had like 3 people say, have safe travels, I know it's gonna go great. So as we leave, get right out of town, their thoughts are with us and we're riding safe.
It was a dream that I've had my whole life, to be a performer on a beautiful stage. And I was in the bus, laying down, and I just felt like that we're doing it. And I was recognizing that we are doing what we've all wanted to be doing. It was just a moment of gratitude and God, we've come a long way, and all this hard work and lots of stuff. So yeah, that was a really peak emotional moment for me.
The black and blue for West Review!
God.
I'm blown away.
No, it's hard to grasp a description.
Gypsy. Punk rock. Vincent Price.
Like going over a hill in the 1920s to like the craziest circus sideshow you could imagine.
The energy, texture, surprises left and right.
We belong on Broadway.
It was amazing.
Should be more entertainment in America like this.
I just wanted everybody in this fucking world to see you guys at least once.
Incredible summer. It's been an incredible season. It's been an incredible year. And this drink goes out to Zebu.
All the yard dogs, everyone, we've come a long way. And you guys are working super, super hard. I had a whole thing written out. I just love you guys a lot. I really appreciate what you guys have done.
Zebu had been working so hard for us, and it was really starting to pay off. Things were just lining up.
We were starting to get some national press.
We did a couple of crazy shows with Les Claypool.
I had just gotten a call from Michael Bailey at the Fillmore, so we got the Fillmore gig.
There was even a European tour in the works.
Yeah, one more thing. The women behind it all, the feminist black and blue.
Without whom we would be nothing but a couple of dirty hoes.
Black and
How you feeling, Sansa?
Pretty good. I feel rejuvenated this year. I know where everything goes and what I have to do when. I have evolved over the last year and I feel more in my place.
Good evening, and thank you so much for coming out to the Yard Dogs Roadshow.
I am so stoked. I'm so happy to be alive. I felt like nothing could touch me really, and I was just like on the plane of perfect existence.
Done a lot of festivals that summer, and this one was particularly hard on us.
In Bonnaroo in Tennessee, we did 10 shows in a row, and it was about 106 degrees out with a lot of humidity.
Washing ourselves off with a hose outside of the tent in between sets.
It was also the chaos of a festival. We were totally dehydrated, totally exhausted. All the physical stuff was there.
People were just about to pass out on stage.
After the show, everyone's energy was starting to collide.
I am completely and 100% exhausted.
We were really proud for finishing such a grueling festival.
Nice work, guys.
Sansa was getting ready to go out. She just met a new boy. She's really excited. I remember I had this real sense that she shouldn't go out, that she should just go to bed like I was going to bed.
The show was over, everyone just disbanded. You know, it was just like, we're done working, we're gonna go have some fun.
And we were ready to friggin' party and have a good time, you know, and let loose.
And she went running off to go dancing with half the band.
Good night, sweetheart. I don't see you tomorrow.
One of our bandmates turned to her and said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Yep." And then he picked her up and flipped her, and she fell.
I get a call from Jim, our bus driver, and Jim is like, something really fucked up just happened. Sansa just fell on her neck. Sansa just fell on her neck, and we need your help.
She's laying on the ground, she can't move.
And it's right there, okay, this is now a reality.
They're sending for a helicopter.
And it was just like, I mean, you know, of course, that whole time, it's just like, what's gonna happen, you know? Lily was right there with her, and she got in the helicopter with her, and she was talking to Sansa the whole time. Sansa was coherent, and they were disconnected.
And I said, you know, Sansa, when you go up there in that helicopter, you're gonna be really close to your guardian angels, and you need to ask for help, because there's help there for you. When we got to the hospital, and I finally found Sansa, and she was laying there scared and alone, and her neck was in a brace, she couldn't feel her legs, and her arms were just burning. And right before they put her under, they started to tell her that it's possible that she wouldn't make it through the surgery. I said, don't you listen to them, Sansa. Don't listen to them at all. I was yelling and left the room and spent the hours just thinking about Sansa and thinking about her spine being this cord of golden light.
And we all I think we all took a step back for a second and thought about, is this the lifestyle that we want, you know? Is this kind of like emotional, tiring, long hours of touring and kind of beating yourself up? Is this what show business is about, you know?
Lying in my bed, got no dreams in my head that haven't been dragged across the floor. Waiting for the sun, buried on the ocean, for what feels like 10,000 years or more. I've seen the mountain, and I've walked the valleys. I've been through the cities, and I've walked the alleys. On a summer evening, with the raccoons grieving, I've seen the cold dark mirror.
And it's right in our face now, you know. Our baby sister is in the hospital now, and we don't know if she's gonna be okay.
My pockets lined with gold, waiting for the crusades to leave this helpless world alone. I look from flesh and bone on the place that I call home, standing in the ruins of downtown. Iron lace, haunted street, itching heel has got me beat, but there's nothing that important to me now. I was born a rambler, I guess I always will. Once you get the habit, you just can't stand still. But now I'm all disheveled, running like the devil, on my hind legs in the sun. There were many times I wish that I'd have stayed, but I know I can't go home.
We still had some important shows coming up and a European tour on the horizon.
Now I'm out here on my own.
So, I broke my neck, clearly. I was dancing with Miguel, and we were probably showing off. It was an accident. It was an accident. I don't know if I can go back. I just don't know.
We're just trying to work it out. After the hip hop drums and stuff, that we could try going right back into the and do that, or try it, because I think that people are. We'd lost a key player, and we had a big show coming up, and how are we going to pull it off?
It's just hard to come in. Well, it wasn't though until you overthought it.
For a while, her hand was paralyzed. She couldn't play, she couldn't walk, she couldn't dance, she couldn't do anything. And then to see her walk back into our life at that moment, it was just a victory. Not only was it a personal victory for her, but a personal victory to have our group back together again. It was really, really an important moment.
So she felt like she could pull it off. And so from there, we had about a week to get the show back together.
How you doing? Welcome to the Fillmore, the Yard Dogs Roadshow.
It's exciting. It's our first show in San Francisco in a year.
Fillmore SF!
Finally reached the Fillmore. We worked for a long time to get to a place where we could sell out and play the Fillmore.
I guess we don't have the dough.
We're all there, we're going for it. Miguel, of course, calls after a couple hours of not even showing up or calling. We're all like, where's Miguel,
Here we are working our asses off. We're doing our thing.
Each person kind of has their own job that they do. And when somebody's missing, that means that job isn't going to get done. Or somebody else is going to have to do it.
Kind of a major one.
Yeah.
It's important. This is an important gig.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2.
Yeah, we gotta change that split.
Where's center stage? This one right here.
We were halfway through sound check. Doors were about to open. The show had sold out. And he still hadn't shown up, Everyone was pretty much at the end of their rope at that point.
It's complicated. You guys do this.
Are we done with sound check?
And he shows up.
This is the greatest night of our lives!
This is the pattern. We're already a little bit sore at him.
It's all up here. It's all good. I'm not.
I'm a dick. That's doing it.
Because he's been there. It's alright. Everything's fine.
Easy. Let's have a good. It's my birthday. Let's have
I know. Happy birthday. Oh, you fucker.
I feel great. I'm encouraged. Let's do this. Here we go. Anyway, so it's your birthday.
Now I'm going to take you a walk down the block and just calm down a little bit. Realize this is a special show.
I'm a little worried actually about my act tonight because my throat is so sore that I'm a little scared of what it's going to feel like to have a sword in my throat tonight.
Truth of the matter, she is on stage.
Fillmore.
There you go. Screaming out here. I'm shaving off my beard at the Fillmore. Before we go on. Mike and D!
No, where is he? He's coming. Here he comes.
Start rumbling now. This is the last show of their tour. They need your energy. Bring them out with energy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Yard Dog
I knew that going back to the Yard Dogs was my destiny, that I needed to continue my work. And after all the healing that I did, inside and out,
How's your neck?
okay. Every cell in my body was sure that that was the right thing to do.
Hello, my name is Sans Asylum. I am the ruler of Pineapple Land. Everything here is happy and free. La 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 la, oh, thanks to me.
Oh, her name is Sans Asylum. She is the ruler of Pineapple Land. Everything here is happy and free.
La 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 la, oh, thanks to me.
37 inches of razor-sharp scimitar, forged
crushed by the Mad King in his underwater palace of total doom.
Especially an honor to be here tonight because it is our very own Lily Rose Love's birthday tonight.
Don't forget to love each other madly for the rest of the evening. What you looking for in a man?
Kind of letting go of the sore feelings, except I think Zebu's still holding on to it because he's got all the managerial pressure on him. It just breaks out, you know.
You are late regularly. You did it today, and it's disrespectful.
You're a fool. You're a damn fool. What do you want? What the fuck do you want? For what? For what? To come show and give my all? I give my all no matter what time I'm there.
I give my all for 12, 14 hours a day. You come in.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, bro. That's why you get all the dough, bro. God damn, fucking chump bastards. If you're gonna have an exotic creature in your troupe, then treat him with some respect, Zebu.
You need to hear how disrespectful you are to this group regularly. You need to hear.
You want disrespect. That's what you're asking for. That's what you want.
And you disrespect this whole group.
Here's your disrespect.
This whole group feels the same way.
They can all suck my dick. I quit this fucking chump-ass 2-bit production. You don't respect me from day one. How many years have we been doing this shit? You don't understand who I am yet?
Hey!
Sorry.
It's not fair to them. It's not fair. Let's just stop all that.
He needs to know, and no one wants to tell him. Nobody wants to tell him ever.
Tell him what?
Tell him that he's disrespecting the group.
Hold on. Tell him what?
Do you tell him?
Do I tell him?
Yeah.
How many times have I told him, dude? Shut the fuck up.
Told him what, Tommy?
That he needs to get his fucking shit together.
Exactly.
Or get the fuck off his book. Can we switch gears here?
I think it's very important for everybody to throw all their cards on the table constantly, because otherwise it's scary, but we're not naive little kids,
Nothing else that I encounter through any aspect of my life pulls out these kinds of emotions.
Except the only thing that I want to hold to my friends and my acquaintances, the people that I work with, are like controlling reactions.
We all have these slips and you just can't blame anybody. You can't judge anybody.
You were just like, I'm fucking tired of being in this position.
Frustration, I've had enough to hear with frustration. I don't need that anymore.
Now I could deal with that, but it went too far in those three instances where it was just like, it's too much. It's too much. Yeah, because it's just, it hurts too much to deal with it, and I feel like brokenhearted.
I know my responsibility in it. I don't know if I'm channeling some energy because I'm like a freaking channeler. I'm a bowl of water. I'm a mere ball, you know? Maybe that's beyond me. I'm just too hypersensitive, you know? There's not as an excuse because I don't want to excuse it. I know it's me and my personality. It's just like, I also artistically feel so, like, I don't know.
But because we all loved each other so much and special feelings that we created, it bound us together so that we couldn't leave each other.
This is the greatest theater ever. This is the greatest theater ever.
What's floating through your mind, like setting up at a place like this and us being all the way across the ocean and stuff like that?
What's going through my mind is that this is the most beautiful theater we've ever played in, I think. I was just thinking, like, how far we've come, you know? Our music and our show and everything. Broadway Freddie doesn't bring his washboard anymore. The progression has happened over the years, and it's such a change from what we used to do, you know? But yeah, this is a dream come true, for sure.
We've made it. Such a crazy rocket ride in a couple of years like that. It still doesn't seem real.
You just can't understand where the right thing to do stops and the wrong thing to do ends. But that was part of the crazy magic. There was a lot of craziness, mad poetry.
Everything you do should be, you know, this act of beauty and this act of passion, joie de vivre for life.
The creative force is calling us and demanding us, and at any moment, at every moment, you're like, I can't handle this, and you must. What are you gonna do? There's no way out. This is it. This is the glorious life. You know, there's no business like our version of show business. There's no business, I know.
Vicky and I's relationship definitely transformed, and we ended up separating. But, you know, we both appreciate so much that we shared this life with the Yard Dogs, and Lula getting to grow up kind of like on tour with the little circus, you know.
We decided we wanted new management,
And Zebu kind of finally decided that he would try to make that happen. I'm sure we talked to a couple people here and there, but it never really happened.
Each member had their own set of needs. And I think in the beginning, I thought that somehow, as manager, I could meet all of their needs. But just because you give doesn't mean that you're going to give the right thing. You know, there's no way of knowing, really, what the right thing to do is. And in the end, you know, I think I just burned out.
Some meetings were called, you know, and there was some band members that just couldn't work with Miguel anymore on a professional platform, you know.
I expressed my feelings and other people expressed theirs. Some people were quiet, some people didn't know how to feel, but we wanted to, you know, give them the option to not be in the band, you know. And we went so far as to write up a little thing that said, like, how we were feeling. We wrote up a letter and we all signed it.
I was thinking to myself, like, well, I'm definitely not going to be the one to tell them that, you know. But the band asked me to deliver that message, and I think it was at that time that I realized that maybe I was the only one that could.
And that was kind of it. He was out of the band.
Life makes little difference without your love. All wind from the airwaves redirects from above to dismantle the whistles, the land of the eagles, and don't ever let them get you all the way down. Your life of the party.
Unspoken thing happened where we're not performing. You know? I think that's where we're at. We're just not performing right now. And I think the longer we go without performing, the more it's evident that we had a long good run, and now maybe we're kind of not doing it. But no one's sure of that. I'm not sure.
We had a really intrinsic kind of creative, spiritual connection that we were meant to come together and make something beautiful.
Our lives were so intertwined that sometimes we were literally bouncing off each other, you know. But we had such a strong love for one another. I think that was really the foundation of the whole thing, you know.
We were definitely on the same river going out to the same ocean. And, you know, giving each other the heads up for a chance to learn from another angle.
So you start this thing alone. You find partners along the way, and together you transform. It's a youthful transformation. Because when you're young, you just jump in, and it's beautiful. It's unstoppable. The bond is strong. But then the shadows creep in, and over time the struggle becomes second nature. So you settle into the paradox. Your youth collides with reality, and the sky falls. But it doesn't all fall at once. It falls in pieces. You either learn from it and move on, or you stay in the dream. Because the dream is your youth. And the idea of letting this go is almost infallible. So you let the little worlds collide until there isn't much left. But always, in moments, these broken pieces fall back together. and they're bigger and brighter. In these moments, you know, there's no way you could have possibly done this alone.
idea where the Yard Dogs are right now, really. I mean, business and show-wise. But if they ever wanted to play music with me again and perform again, just call. You guys just call me. I'm always down.
Hey, can we get on with this?
Crazy love is all I
much, you guys. Much love.